It started as a blip, barely a flicker on the outer surveillance nets of Sector 17. A distant signal, uncoded, unclaimed, unknown. The Empire's protocol was clear. Unknown meant irrelevant. The Grand Empire stretched across 2,000 systems, ruled by precision, power, and absolute control. They had enemies, yes, but none were unknown. Everything had a file. Every threat had a classification. Every rebel had a lineage. That's how empires sleep at night, believing they know everything. Until this. The fleet dispatched to investigate the signal wasn't even worried. It was standard procedure. A patrol group of 6 cruisers, 2 destroyers, and a long-range carrier. Nothing worth waking up the admirals for. The officers joked about it over their pre-jump briefings, calling it a ghost blip, a space anomaly, maybe some pirate rig cobbled together in the asteroid belts. They didn't come back. The first real panic sparked when communications went dead within 42 minutes of drop-in. The carrier's black box transmission was cut mid-sentence. No alarms, no calls for reinforcements, just static. Then came the recovery drone. It drifted in 2 days later, half-melted, battered by what looked like kinetic slugs, not plasma. Kinetic, ancient tech. Primitive, yes. But the holes it tore through star steel armor didn't care about opinions. The footage it brought back. One of the admirals watched it in silence, jaw tightening with each second. A cruiser exploded from within, imploded like something had drilled into its core from inside. Another had its engines ripped out, still glowing, flung across space like a thrown spear. The carrier's command deck was breached by something invisible, something fast, something brutal. There was no voice, no warning, just chaos. And then the message came. Handwritten, scanned, human letters, burned into the hull of one of the floating wrecks. We are not in your records because your records are lies. Panic doesn't come easily to empires. It starts with whispers. It crawls. One fleet lost? Maybe a freak event? Maybe sabotage? But then came another signal. Closer this time. No code, no registration, just the same raw signature. This time they sent a task force, 20 ships, armed to the teeth, with clearance to annihilate. And again, silence, except for the wreckage. This time with a different message. We remember Earth. Do you? The Empire didn't. Not really. Earth was a ghost world, a page ripped out of the galactic ledger, officially dead for over 200 cycles, buried under its own wars and forgotten. The Empire rose after the collapse. They said no one survived. They were wrong. Far out in the unregistered sectors, in the black where maps end, something crawled out of extinction. Something that didn't care about empire, hierarchy, or recorded history. One man stood on the bridge of a stolen warship, black-jacketed, his face half-shadowed under flickering lights. His eyes scanned what was left of the Imperial task force. Flames danced in the void. Bodies floated, their armor still gleaming with rank and insignia. He lit a cigarette. Real tobacco, smuggled from an old vault they found on a mining moon. They thought we were gone, he muttered to no one in particular. They wrote us off like a broken species. He stepped forward, gripping the rail. Now they'll remember our name, one fleet at a time. The deck of the stolen cruiser trembled beneath his boots as the auto-repair systems kicked in, trying to seal breaches left by the last skirmish. Sparks hissed from torn panels. Blood, some Imperial, some not, was still smeared across the corridor walls. The man didn't care. He wasn't in this for hygiene or honor. He was in it because Earth deserved a reckoning, and someone had to give it to them. His name was not in their databases. No Imperial war file, no registered genetic code, no planetary citizenship. He was born beneath the crust of Titan Station, 2 centuries after Earth's extinction. Raised by broken men and tougher women who scraped survival out of garbage tech and forgotten AI systems. He never had a last name. Names were a luxury where he came from. They called him Commander now. Not out of formality, but fear. He'd earned the title in blood. Behind him, the command crew worked in silence, each one a ghost of their own ruined past. Exiles, pirates, refugees. Every one of them had been ground beneath the Empire's boots in one form or another. Now, they fought back, not for glory, but for revenge. "Casualty reports," he said flatly, not turning around. Juno, the ship's tactical lead, spoke up. 2 dead, 4 injured. We lost a port cannon, but propulsion's stable. Shields took a beating, but they'll hold. Imperial side? She allowed herself a smirk. All 20 ships disabled. 4 exploded. We have 13 confirmed dead officers pulled from the wreckage. 1 captain left alive. Barely. He nodded slowly, then turned. "Bring him here." She didn't ask why. No one on this crew asked anymore. Minutes later, 2 crewmen dragged in the officer. His once shining armor was cracked and scorched, a large gash across his chest plate. Blood leaked from his lip, and one eye was swollen shut. But even then, the arrogance hadn't left his face. That was the thing about Imperial officers. They believed in their superiority so deeply it survived even death sentences. "You're not registered," the officer rasped, spitting blood onto the deck. "Not in our archives, not in the system." The commander stepped forward, knelt, and looked him dead in the eyes. "Neither is justice." He took the officer's helmet and smashed it on the floor. Shards scattered. "What's your name?" "Admiral Karthus," the man said, puffing his chest like it mattered here. "3rd Dominion Fleet, Class 5 Executor." The commander nodded. "Good. Now you can carry a message back." "I'm not your courier." "No," he said coldly, drawing a knife. "But your body will be." Without another word, he stood and drove the blade straight into the officer's thigh. Deep, but non-lethal. The man screamed. The crew didn't blink. Some even looked bored. "We'll carve your fleet's insignia into your skin," the commander said quietly, "and beneath it, we'll add a word in a dead language. Then, we'll leave you in a drifting pod near the next Empire checkpoint. They'll find you. They'll read it." "What word?" the admiral spat through clenched teeth. The commander leaned in close. "Earth." In the polished halls of the Imperial Corps' War Council, panic was dressed in protocol and bureaucracy. 12 high-ranking officers sat in silence around a glistening obsidian table. Holograms hovered above them. Tactical data, wreckage scans, footage they'd sworn to never release to the public. "This can't be real," murmured High Strategist Varen. "The Empire wiped out all Earth remnants centuries ago. It was cleansed, archived, erased." "We were wrong," said another. "Something survived, and it hates us." Grand Admiral Stravos clenched his fists behind his back. He had watched the footage himself, of Karthus's fleet being ripped apart like paper, of the message seared onto the survivor's chest. Earth. One word had become a ghost that haunted their entire military doctrine. "They're using hybrid tech," another general added. "Ancient Earth projectile weaponry fused with high-density plasma manipulation. Tactical AI systems not in any known coding sequence. It's not just survival, it's evolution. Ruthless, decentralized, and unpredictable." "Then we need to retaliate," Stravos barked. "Level every unregistered system. Wipe out every trace." A thin smile curled on the youngest admiral's face. "That's the thing. We don't know where they are." The silence that followed was colder than space. Back on the stolen warship, the commander stared at an old photo, the last one ever taken of Earth, before it was declared uninhabitable. It was a grainy satellite image, barely clear, but he could make out the continents. He didn't know where on that ball of dirt his bloodline came from. Didn't matter. Earth was memory. Earth was fire. Earth was the one truth the Empire couldn't scrub from the stars. "Set course for Nexus 7, he said without looking up. "There's an outpost there, low tier, mostly smugglers and mercenaries, but it's got eyes on Empire routes." "You think they'll talk?" Juno asked. "They will," he said, "or they'll burn." The jump drive screamed to life, and the ship slipped into slip space like a phantom, untracked, unmarked, and unafraid. Nexus 7 was a floating sewer pipe of corruption and shadows. The Empire tolerated its existence because it kept criminals busy fighting each other instead of destabilizing real systems. But today, the war came knocking. The commander didn't even try to hide. He walked into the cantina in full gear, black combat armor, twin sidearms, boots still stained with Imperial blood. The music stopped. Conversations died. Every merc, thief, and half-baked bounty hunter knew one thing: that man was not Empire. He sat at the bar, tapped the metal surface twice. The bartender, a withered ex-Imperial medic turned alcoholic, froze. "I need records," the commander said calmly. "Ship routes, supply lines, cargo manifests." The bartender shook his head. "I don't sell that anymore. Empire monitors everything now. I've got a grandkid." The commander laid something on the bar. It was a fragment of Karthus's badge, still slick with blood. "Start selling again." Within hours, the commander had what he needed: maps of soft target routes, information on supply convoys, schedules of communication satellites. He didn't need to take out fleets to win. He just needed to make the Empire bleed, one artery at a time. Juno joined him in a dark corner of the bar. "You really think one ship and a bunch of outlaws can break the Empire?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he pulled a small, ancient recording device from his belt. He clicked it on. A voice crackled out. Old, broken, tired. "If anyone finds this, if anyone survives, remember us. We were Earth, and we mattered." He turned it off, looked at her. "I don't need to win. I just need to make sure they never sleep again." In the following weeks, the galaxy changed. Convoys disappeared. Communication satellites went dark. Outposts vanished without a trace. The Empire's proud grip began to loosen, not by armies, but by fear. Every time a ship went missing, every time a survivor was found with the word Earth carved into hulls or bodies, the legend grew. They started calling him the Ghost of Earth, the man who wasn't in their records, the one mistake they couldn't erase. But he wasn't done. Not yet. Because buried deep within the Empire's core was the archive, a vault of knowledge, secrets, and history wiped clean from the public record. If he could reach it, he could broadcast the truth to the galaxy, show them what the Empire had done, what it had covered up. The purges, the sterilizations, the extermination of entire bloodlines, and most of all, what they did to Earth. He stood on the bridge of his warship, watching the stars stretch and bend as they prepared to jump again. "Target locked?" he asked. Juno's voice came steady. "Locked and primed. Next jump will take us straight into archive perimeter range. If we make it through, we'll make it." He tightened his gloves, stared ahead. "They think they can bury us, but they forgot the one thing Earth taught its sons." He turned to his crew, voice rising with quiet fury. "You bury a man, you better make sure he doesn't dig back up with fire in his veins." The stars pulsed. The ship jumped, and war truly began. Silence hit the ship like a guillotine. Slipspace dropped away and revealed the outer perimeter of the Empire's archive defense zone. Walls of sensor buoys, automated gun platforms, and patrol flares slicing through darkness. It was cold, sterile, lifeless, built to repel any intruder with ruthless efficiency. He watched the monitor. Lights shifted. Red beams trenched outward, detecting mass signatures. "Idle intrusion field," Juno said. "They haven't fired yet, but they're watching." "Good," he answered, jaw flexing. "They're going to see us, but they won't know what hit them." He flipped open a data pad. "We're carrying 3 decoy drones loaded with EMP charges. One will draw fire. The other 2 get us in." The crew scratched notes, nodded, and moved. They weren't scared. Not anymore. He walked to the viewport. Beneath them, the archive station was a fortress, a cigarette-shaped cylinder 2 kilometers long, with docking arms and comm arrays bristling outward. The station's surface was as smooth as polished stone, painted the dull gray of bureaucracy and control. "This station," he murmured, "holds every secret the Empire buried, every file on Earth, every playbook for eradication. We break in. We broadcast it across every comm channel in the sector. Let them judge us. Let other systems wake up." Juno put a hand on his arm. "You mean to wake them up? Or burn them?" He looked at her, unflinching. "Sometimes you need fire in both hearts." In the skies around the archive, the first drone launched, a sleek sphere with fins igniting an exhaust flurry before rocketing ahead. Imperial turrets screamed to life, gunning it down in seconds. No matter. That drone gave away its location. 2 more followed, programmed to veer off in opposite directions, heading straight for 2 separate firing arrays. "Deploy," he said. The crew released them. Then, the cruiser slipped off courses, dropping into the debris shadow behind a defunct satellite cluster. A volley of energy bolts chased the decoys, bright, hot, but harmless. The rest of the station's defense grid aimed at ghost signatures, and for a moment the station's systems were blind. "Now," he hissed. He hit a sequence, and the ship's cloak engaged, a stolen black market tech module that painted them invisible beyond 300 meters. The entire crew held breath. A white-knuckled minute later, the ship glided into the station's docking corridor without alert. No warning alarms, no broadcasted red lights. Nothing but silence. They flew in, lights off, systems muted, shields locked at minimal output. The station loomed above them in a suspend of halls and doors and corridors. A labyrinth built to repulse intruders, not hold them. Empire tech, efficient and unforgiving. They disembarked, each of them stripped of heavy gear, moving swift and silent through ignitionless boots. They held plasma rifles, knives, data pads. No room for failure. He led them down a long corridor. Panels beeped with access codes. Security cameras blinked red. Automated patrol drones hovered, scanning. He tapped one panel. It blinked green. They slipped inside. Behind a locked door, a data vault hummed. A chamber of floating memory cores, replicators, drive matrices. Millions of terabytes. All the Empire's hidden files. He planted a backup drive. His crew bypassed encryption and started the copy process. 10 terabytes per second, said the tech specialist, voice tight. But we need cover. They'll sense it. He nodded. Ready the disruptor charge. We blow main conduit once we're clear. A distant clang echoed. A patrol, or more likely, a maintenance bot. Footsteps down the corridor. The hallway lights flipped to alert red. The station knew. Time, he murmured. He took position, angled his rifle toward the vault door. The Robocop came first, Imperial maintenance drone, metal limbs whirring. His shot blew its chassis into sparks. Alert sirens screamed. Data complete, the specialist announced. Charge it, he said. They raced for the door. Panic echoed behind them. A squad of human Imperial guards appeared. 2 officers in crisp uniforms, rifles leveled. They didn't say a word. He didn't either. He opened fire. 4 shots, 2 down. A third dropped his weapon. By the time he fired again, the last one rolled into the corridor's shadow. Behind him, Juno smashed the vault chamber's conduit, an explosion of lights and fire. The ship shook. "Retreat!" he ordered. They ran, twisted. A weightless bolt hit the floor near his foot. Hot. The metal sheared away. He saw the docking corridor entrance ahead. Smoke, red lights. Hull groaned. They ran in, slid onto the deck plating. "Cloaks offline!" Juno yelled. "They'll scan us in!" He roared. "Go, go, go!" The ship gap closed. The docking clamps released. Engines burned white hot. Behind them, the archive station's corridor erupted. Fire and explosion pulsed. They made it to space. They emerged again into vacuum. Alarms chirped, shields damaged, power down to 50%. But the data drive was intact, and the ship's cloak re-engaged. Automatic. He collapsed to a seat, coughing. Status. Juno rattled out the updates. The ship could only hold 1 war jump before it crashed or fizzled. The station would be on alert. It would send everything they had. Next stop wasn't safe. He backed away. "We broadcast now." She gulped. "Across all frequencies?" He stared at her. "All of them." They went silent. Then he keyed the drive's port. The files streamed across their onboard transmitter, bouncing off satellites, relaying to outer systems. Screens lit up around the ship. First came data dumps, files, videos, names, trillions of records, Imperial X purge of Earth, biological warfare on colonies, clamp operations on Terra Indiout, etc. But then came the real message. He recorded himself, weaving across handheld footage, scratched metal behind him, sparks everywhere. He spoke with fury, pain, defiance. "People of the galaxy, they erased us and lied. They killed Earth and scrubbed the record. They burned our books, sterilized our genes, claimed no one survived. They wiped our history and said Earth was a myth. But Earth mattered. Its sons matter. I am one of those sons. I carry its memory. And I bring its law." The feed reached every comm channel his haphazard broadcast could hit. Mercenary bases, pirate dens, free fleets, subsystems allied with Empire turned silent. Systems under its thumb flickered with static. And then a message scrolled. "We were erasure, but we are remembrance." He shut it off. Silence replaced broadcast chaos. "Reactions?" he asked. Juno's screen showed responses, a pulsating stream of data. Some were logging, some responding. One message stood out. "Aram Coalition. Your signal resounds. We join you." The smile on his face was dangerous. "Prepare for war." He stood, sawing anger into steel posture. "We just flipped a spark. Now let's make it wildfire." They couldn't celebrate. Not yet. The Empire would come, hell-bent for vengeance. Every fleet within 50 parsecs would burn. He pulled up the communication log. Nomad freighters, rebel cells, smuggler clans, corporate mercs, pirate knights. They all answered. In hours, 10 ships docked. Defectors, joiners, hopefuls. They didn't ask about creed. They asked only, "How high?" He looked at Juno. "The crew." He nodded. A new fleet, the Ghost Fleet, formed. It glowed under radar, patchwork crews, jury-rigged vessels. But it moved with purpose, moving starburst, rising flame. He turned to address them all via broadcast. "Today, we fought the Empire's lie. Tomorrow, we'll fight its ocean. And when we do, we're not just fighting for Earth. We fight for all worlds they buried." He paused. Silence. "You think this is reckless? Fine. We move when they sleep, strike when they trust. We do not ask for their permission. We take it." He walked toward the viewport. Stars shimmered across hull plates. "We're not in their records," he whispered, "but they'll know us soon. We'll ride the storm. And when it ends, they'll have no ledger left." Empire response was swift. News feeds lit up. Imperial Supreme Court denounced them as terrorists. Courts called, "The Ghost Fleet is anarchist piracy." Newspapers called, "The Earth Terror threatens peace." Allies of Empire tightened blockades. Outlying systems activated trans walls. But under the surface, doubt spread. Whispers outside of Imperial space. Could this be true? Could Earth have survived? Could we stand for a second chance? The Ghost Fleet cruised onward. Their first target was the convoy route that supplied the Empire's outer research satellite, St. Seraphim, vital to mapping unregistered zones. As they approached, hulls cooled. They fell into formation behind comets and ruins. Sensors flagged 2 transport ships escorted by 4 corvettes. Unprotected. "Plan?" Juno asked. He gripped the rail. "We hit the transports but leave the escort. Let them carry our signal forward. They'll bring terror back." He looked over the assembled fleet's kicker ships. "Deploy harpoons." The harpoon pods flew outward, magnetic cables hooking into the transports, explosives behind them. The transports lurched, then shattered. Biosphere breached. Cargo spilled. No survivors. Council sent a coded message across public networks. "Empire research destroyed. Systems are under threat. Join the breach." Then the corvettes realized. But by then, the harpoons detonated. EM pulse ripping comms. Fire ripping through hulls. The Ghost Fleet jumped out. No loss on their side. News feeds exploded. Unidentified attackers destroy Imperial Research Unit. EMP strike. 4 corvettes down. Ghost Fleet strikes again. Galaxy on alert. The Empire fired back. To no avail. Their war room buzzed. Strategy leaked. Fear surged. But far from Imperial halls, the Ghost Fleet regrouped. He walked through the sickbay. 2 medics waited by a console. A dozen wounded fragged via drugs. One pirate freighter captain, shot in the shoulder, asked him, "You killing Empire blood?" He shook his head. "Number, we're unburdening them. They'll live long enough to decide." He moved on. Down in the engineering bay, the 3 decoy drones were being refitted. Drones of hope and fear. They'd be used again. He found Juno at the navigation station. "What's next?" She tapped a new coordinate. "Imperial data relay in Sector Alpha Sigma." Toolbar project behind them, crew strained to download more files. Transmitters queued against Imperial communication scramblers. He rubbed his eyes. "Good. We strike there, and hit it hard." He stood tall. "Then we send messages across every system that once thought Empire was inevitable. We show them proof, names, crimes, resistance." Juno gave him a rueful grin. "And you know what we'll do if they don't answer?" He tried not to smile. "We erase their certainty." Deep under the metal floor plates, somewhere, someone carved their name with fire back into the Empire's soul. They were not in their records, but the galaxy would know them soon. They were Earth reborn. The glow of comm screens bathed the command deck in electric blue as he watched streams of incoming messages. The relay station Alpha Sigma had fallen. Fleet after fleet around the perimeter had reported similar strikes, all with the same signature. Brutal, human-made precision. Psych reports from Imperials mentioned a cold, detached professionalism, like ghosts. That was him, and his crew. They weren't soldiers. They were punishing shadows. But as with any war, what fuels fury eventually ripples into compassion for both sides. A message came through private channel. It was labeled with her name. Mara, it said only, "They're coming. They have her." He leaned back, fists clenching. Mara, his second-in-command, shield-bearer, the one who held him steady when nightmares came. She'd been missing since the archive raid, left behind intentionally when the station imploded. He didn't like it, but he trusted her to get out. He trusted. Now, someone had found her. He strode into the briefing room, rough metal underfoot, aroma of recycled air. His crew stood at attention, wary. The mood was tense. Rumors spread fast in tight-knit units. He cut the silence with hard clarity. Mara's been captured. Location unknown, but we tracked a supply convoy, the same transport route we sabotaged, likely taken when we struck. He paused, eyes sweeping the crew. They at least know we exist. They know names. They think they can hurt us with that. Juno stepped forward, voice low. We can rescue her, raid the convoy's escort station. It's lightly defended, could get her out. He nodded, tension easing into resolve. Then that's our strike point. Assemble a team, small group, surgical, minimum force. A ripple passed through the room. Rescue missions were dangerous, but Mara was more than crew. She was the axis he turned on. They'd die for her. Undercover in the heart of an imperial mining moon, they prepared. The station lay beneath layers of rock, smokestacks venting clouds of ash. Imperial security forces refused to enter its interior. They outsourced safety to contractors. That meant militiamen, mercs, not soldiers. Sloppy, unpredictable, perfect. He changed into non-regulation gear, dusty, worn, baked by solar winds. He clipped Juno's blade into his belt, secured 2 plasma pistols. He looked at the extractor team. 6 eyes ready, 6 hearts steady. Code, he said. Merc tag. We're supply auditors. Routine check. They nodded. Trust earned in whispers and scars. They traveled through mining tunnels, bulkheads, grinding pistons. The convoy depot was an open shed of freighters and cargo containers. The patrols were light, security sporadic. A central command dome came into view, tinted black. He signaled the group. They split, 2 to breach the orphan cell block, 2 to disable external guards, and Juno to plant distractor charges. He stayed with the cell team. They cut through a service hatch. Inside, lighting flickered weakly. Cold vents hissed. Security cameras blinked. Keep it quiet, he whispered. They moved past sealed doors, inside a holding bay. The lock swiveled. Guards inside. 2 mercenaries. Perfect. He aimed, shot. Silence stamped in. The guards hit the floor. No alarms triggered. Shields still unbroken. The blast door ahead hissed open, revealing a line of cells. He dropped to one knee, scanning. There. Mara, shackled, head slumped, unconscious. His throat tightened. He hurried forward. One guard slouched against the wall. Dead, crushed, but holding a keycard. He took it. Fingers shaking, he pressed it to the cell lock. The mechanism clicked. The cell door slid open with a choked hiss. She woke as he knelt beside her. Her eyes opened, clouded with pain. He offered his hand. She bit her lip, wincing. Don't, G. Not yet. He ignored her protest, unlocked the cuffs. Carefully, he lifted her to standing position. She leaned on him. You made it out? He asked softly. She nodded. Planted sensor on convoy. Had to meet someone. He moved in, Imperial. He pulled a gun. His jaw tensed. I knocked him off my suit, lost consciousness. When I woke, I was here. He brushed ash from her hair. You're safe now? They had to move fast. The extractor SOP. Juno's charges had started a small fire in the fuel cluster. Alarms shrieked across the depot. That was their window. He told the team to lead her out. He stayed behind to cover rear. It's fine, she whispered, voice ragged. Just promise me we get a ship. He nodded, scanning through smoke and alarms, through long corridors into open hangar. The team cleared a partially built freighter. She could limp aboard. He heard shouting behind him, then footsteps. He spun. A merc lieutenant, pistol-trained. He fired. The lieutenant fell, but the sound rang. Other mercs appeared in the hangar, 5 of them, rifles raised. He raised his when they saw her strapped in the freighter's cradle. "We're leaving," he said, voice cold and clear. They hesitated, then charged. He shot one at the threshold, took a plasma bolt to his shoulder. Stung like fire, he fired back. 2 down. The rest retreated. 3 running for cover. Mara fired a pistol from the doorway. The third merc dropped, blank stunned in mid-step, but the freighter's launch bay door was closing. She scrambled inside as he fired an EMP grenade, shorting the courtyard lights, shredding optics. He bolted forward, breached a bulkhead into docking bay, vanishing as the freighter doors sealed. He heard the ship engine ignite just as a merc bolt slammed into his back, knocking him off his feet. Blackness stretched out. When he woke, he was strapped to a medical bunk. Alarms chimed quietly overhead. His shirt was cut open. Juno sat in fast scrub uniform beside him, wiping his brow. She met his stare. "You're alive," he wheezed. "I knew I'd come back." She smiled, and something like relief flickered in her eyes. "How's Mara?" Juno slid a data pad to him. It showed her vitals and scans, bruised, dehydrated, still recovering, but alive. He closed his eyes. Relief washed through him. 6 hours later, he found them both in the ship's main hold. Mara leaned against a crate, weak but standing. He walked to her. "Why did you tell me?" he asked softly. She swallowed. "Men here. They weren't mercenaries. Imperial Marines, not contractors." She held his gaze, raw truth between them. His heart stuttered. "So they knew you were Earthborn, knew who you were?" She nodded. "When I planted the sensor, one recognized me. A childhood face. Before Earth died, he betrayed me, tracked my steps." He closed his eyes. Because he knew that name. He always protected her. But someone had slipped through. He asked, voice rough. "How many know?" She swallowed. "The supply officers, 2. Convoy commander, 4 more." He let that sit, cold and bitter. "Then we have leak," he said. "We wind them out. And that lieutenant? He's still alive on that moon." He spat. She looked away. "I killed him." He sank onto a crate. "Good." He looked up. "But the rest?" Over the next hours, they fortified. He walked the corridors with Juno. They whispered plans, contain the leak, stage an ambush. "I can't risk exposure," he said. "We strike here. They'll be ready." She tapped a nav screen. She pointed. "We bait them. Use the leak. Spread word that Earth fleet's here, ready to negotiate stationing help. In neutral space, let them come." He stared. "In a trap." "Yes, we take out their trackers, get data. Plus morale blow." He nodded. "They think Terra is myth. We give them this." He nodded at her. "They'll know we bite." That night he found himself staring at an old Earth relic, a metal disc engraved with a phoenix, passed to him by Mara years ago. Earth symbol. Mortally banned. He pulled it free. He held it, felt weight, warmth. He ran fingertips over the faded lines. He whispered, "You gave me purpose." He locked eyes to darkness of space ahead. "For that, you'd die in comfort." He slid it away, memory stowed. A week later, they left the mining moon behind them. The convoy station was offline, abandoned. But they left a small team in stealth mode. He met them in War Room. 10 volunteers, half soldiers, half ex-mercs. He told them it was a bait mission. Swipe a convoy full of trackers, data, convoy logs, then feed them to ambush. They nodded. He looked at Mara. She wore scars, hospital gown. She leveled pistol at console. "I'm with you." He nodded, heart lifting. At convoy meet location, he shut systems. Ship drifted in asteroid shadows. The convoy came. 4 freighters with 2 corvettes escort. They waved the green emissary lights. He watched long-range cams. When they closed enough, he hit audio. "This Carl's auditor team," he said in gravel. "Request docking. Inspector on board." The lead corvette pinged. Request denied. Switch to red telemetry. Warship clear sight. It fired signal to freighter. Dock ready. The freighters docked. He cut the feed. Within seconds, the ship unleashed EMP pulse, disabling escorts. Tracking team launched pods into freighters, hacked systems, downloaded logs. Corvettes scrambled back. He lit ion beams to hold them. 2 down. 1 fled. 1 shattered but self-destruct didn't go Bay mode. He and Mara raced to intercept escape pod. Mara fired console override. She took the pod. They resumed fire as they slipped away. 3 trackers and databanks on board. They returned triumphant. They fed trackers to interrogation. Merc trackers screamed and spilled data on Imperial grid positions. He had names, coordinates, mission logs. Once Pandora's box open. But at midnight, he found Mara crying in the small chapel room, an aisle inside converted cargo hold. Old Earth tradition, wood slats, moonlight pane. He sat beside her. "You good?" he asked. She wiped tears. "I killed my brother." He blinked. She whispered. "He saw me, echoed me, recognized Earthblood in my voice. He tried to help. Empire wanted me. He gave his life to let me escape." She looked up. "He was my brother, actually." Another breath. "I used him." He didn't say a word. She continued. "I've watched every live feed. Brother turned traitor becomes one who saves me. I lied to get his help." He was silent. She held his hand. "I couldn't let you die." He looked away, voice quiet. "We build on lies. Soon it becomes hate." She cried harder. He pulled her close. "Your forgiveness. Maybe that's enough." She cried into his armor. He kept vigil that night. Outside, ships moved silently. Sectors toggled new grid lines. The leak closed in, but trackers fleeing. He plotted next move, hit 3 key relay stations. Empire fleets repositioning to hunt Mara. But his mind returned to Mara's brother. He put his hand on the Phoenix relic locked away. Paper-thin tears. He vowed quietly. "We won't sacrifice blood for the cause. Never again." Weeks passed, filling with strikes. Relay station Alpha Gamma fell. Another convoy lost. Empire fleets bleeding. They broadcasted tracker data live. Names, faces, operators, ship IDs, corrupt orders. It played across pirate nets, rebel hotlines, smuggler tracks. Support surged. And then, Titan's Tears, wealthy neutral system, declared support. Secretary General of its council stepped up. "The Ghost Fleet speaks truth. We stand with Terra." It was war. Through battles and betrayals, one constant remained. The man who wasn't in records now bled with everything he was. Rage, guilt, love. The flame carved into his soul, Earth's memory, burned with each life. But when one of his own died, brother, comrade, only daughter of militia, he realized revolution could devour everything he loved. In the fading glow of the command deck, he stood beside Juno. "Tomorrow, biggest strike yet. Imperial Core Relay. It'll shatter info network." She nodded. He placed hand on her shoulder. "You ready?" She looked at him, aware. "Always." He inhaled. "Then it begins." They assembled in the dim chaos of the war room just before dawn. The Ghost Fleet formed a crescent around the Imperial Core Relay, a hulking structure of conduits, data uplinks, and defense turrets. It connected every Empire-controlled system. Sever it, and Imperial authority would unravel in that quadrant. He watched the hologram of the station rotate. Scores of Imperial frigates loitered nearby, shielded by cruiser escorts. "A frontal strike will kill us," Juno said, voice flat. "We need diversion." He tapped coordinates. "We'll hit in 3 waves. First, send our drone swarm to neutralize turrets. Then Mara's team breaches the relay itself. Last, we strike the frigates, disable, take their logs, then withdraw." They all knew the risk. If Mara fell again, The revolution would lose its soul. If he fell, it would shatter. "Hold formation," he said. "Ready status." They moved in silence. Every captain, every gunner focused. He felt the weight on his shoulders, the burden of every rebel, pirate, merc, who now believed this mission could topple a star-spanning dictatorship. The drones launched as they swept in from slipspace. Thousands of little scouts zipped outward, seeking weapon nests and turret arrays. Explosions flashed like distant fireworks. Shields on the relay dropped to amber. Comfort came in fleeting pulses. Ion blasts seared space, but the fleet danced around them, shields deflecting shards of plasmatic flak. Then Juno's voice crackled through. "Alpha turret grid is down. Beta is hot, but falling." He allowed himself a grim smile. "Wave 2, he breathed. They docked with the station using stolen transponder codes. The hangar door opened. Mara led the strike team, 8 warriors hardened by loss, spite, survival. They stepped into stale air, atmosphere recycled 3 times over. They sprinted down corridors. Alarms started low, building to screeches. Guards clustered, rifles raised. Mara and her group flattened them with precision. No mercy, no pause. They forced open the relay core chamber, a vaulted hall of crystalline conduits and data flow columns. Massive oil glass drive banks pulsed with imperial encryption. They started slicing the main feed lines. "Copy logs," Mara snapped into comms. 2 minutes before total grid fails. Outside, muffled detonations rocked the station. He imagined drones colliding with turrets, frigate escorts firing blindly. The frigates attacked. Ion beams grazed hull as small ships wove through their ranks. Nothing major. He paced on the command deck, fists clenched, mind racing between hope and dread. And then the alert. Mara team under fire. "On my mark," he told his crew. "Wave 3 inbound in T-minus 30 seconds." He drilled into sensors. He saw chaos, guards firing into corridors, blasts ripping concrete. The relay conduit they were slicing lit up in sparks, electrical arches throwing half the chamber dark. 30. Plasma bolts, drones, gunships, everything converged. Wave 3 swept into the station entrance. He fought in his chair, heart pounding. He watched Mara's path in live feed, a red corridor, sparks, smoke, guards falling back under fleet fire. 20 seconds. He saw her miracle moment, a shot, a fall, a stagger. "Medic on me!" he barked. But she held her pistol, bleeding from her shoulder, fire in her eyes. She shot a final override panel. The relay convulsed, screams of overloading energy as central cores overloaded. "Copy logs," she hissed. Data packets streamed outward, filled with digitized evidence of imperial atrocities. "Extract," he roared. She fired 3 grenades. Walls collapsed behind her. Then she tumbled through doors into smoke. They locked down the airlock. He exhaled the breath he hadn't realized he held. On deck, the fleet pulled back as frigates closed in. "Plug the hole! They're coming for us," he said, voice steady. Juno cut in. "Drones are losing comms. Fighters inbound." He nodded grimly. "Punch out the core, then light black box jump." They watched as the station convulsed, systems collapsing, shields flickering red, then black, like a wounded beast. "Time to go," he said. They boarded at the hangar. Mara nearly fell, but was caught. He braced her. "Strong," he said, "going home." "Promise me," she rasped. He asked, "What?" She shook her head. "Nothing." He pressed a hand onto her shoulder. "Shut it, Captain." Slipspace ripped them away. They dropped deep in neutral space. Sensors tracked emissions flying out of the station. Data logs, manifesto packets, files meant for the free fleets. He exhaled again. "A safe zone," he said. "Send logs to freighter comnets." Down the corridor he found Mara slumped. She opened her eyes. "Is it done?" He nodded. She closed her eyes again. They slept, or tried to. There was no rest. They waited as minutes passed, like hours. Then Juno's voice came in. Emissaries responding. Titan's Tears is broadcasting. Martel packed, deploying ships to help. More states aligning. He's breathed in. They see it. Tell them, she whispered. What? Tell them Earth was right. He closed his face. Signal picked up Imperial response. Station destroyed. Investigating. Suspected sabotage by unidentified fleet. Full military response declared. He sighed. But they can't walk it back. He looked across his crew, exhausted but alive, hearts pledged. He walked to Mara's side. We did it, she whispered. And yet... I know. He pulled her close. They spent the next day sending files to every free warren, pirate den, rebel cell, evidence of genocide, exterminations, historical fabrications. As broadcasts flooded the quadrant, his heart felt both hope and dread. This was only the beginning. When the final file sent, he walked to the command deck, looked at the holo of the destroyed relay. He keyed a broadcast. To those watching, they erased us. But we rose. We risked everything so no system ever looks the other way. Let this ember burn. He paused. We are Earth reborn. Under the frozen stars, he stood with Mara and Juno, watching systems light up with alien names cheering the breach. He closed his eyes, knowing tomorrow would bring reprisals. But tonight? Tonight, they struck. Shared blood, shared scars, a new war begun. The Ghost Fleet stood on the edge of history, and he whispered to himself, I'm not in your records, but I'm in your future. The aftermath of the relay strike rippled like shockwaves. His comlink buzzed with reports as the coalition built around them began to fracture under pressure. Systems that cheered yesterday now whispered fear. They were dealing in truths the Empire wanted erased, and now the Empire was showing its teeth. He sat in the command deck's center chair, hollow globe of rebel-aligned territories shimmering in red and gold. Outside, the Ghost Fleet drifted, silent but armed, waiting on his orders and prayers. Beneath the glow of hollows, Juno entered, face drawn. Emissaries from Titan's Tears want to renegotiate. Demand we focus attacks on Empire supply routes, not strategic structures. He looked up. At what cost? They'll pull out if we don't comply. Their fleet's arrival hinged on promises, operational priorities. They have influence. He ground his teeth. They gave us fighters. We didn't ask them to rewrite our mission. We had Empire supply, relay research. Their data correction gave them the leverage. Juno nodded. So they hold it. They want us to accept constraints. And if we comply? He asked. She sighed. We lose momentum. Risk civilian tragedies. He closed his eyes. Freedom isn't polite. Juno placed a hand on his shoulder. There's more. The Empire is mobilizing the Third Dominion. Warships, brutal cleansers, hundreds of vessels converging. He let that land. Then we escalate. He convened the captains in main briefing, faces lit by holoscreen showing converging Empire fleets. We have leverage. The bridge system, the Rift Gate chain near Pharos Station, is their fastest rain gesture to deploy forces. If we hit one node, we slow them weeks. A murmur rose. If we do that, Juno added, Titan's Tears will withdraw. They consider it dose too aggressive. He cut in. But if we let Empire fleet slide through, Titan's Tears loses faith, and new systems desert us. We could collapse in weeks. Casualties? One captain asked. High, he said. But doable. We'll use drone swarms and precision sabotage. Use Mara's surgical teams. Let us carry the strike quietly. Then we broadcast why it was necessary. Another captain frowned. You asked to fight two battles, Empire and our own allies. He rammed a fist on the armrest. I ask them to be free. Back in private, he found Juno pacing. We have to prepare Mara, she said quietly. If you do this, gate strike, she'll go in. That route means her team, and that station's People's HQ. We'll have to sack Pharos. He stared. She volunteered. Because she believes, but this mission could break her. She paused. She's already lost so much. He exhaled hard. Freedom always comes with pain. She looked away. Then we throttle back? He shook his head. We push forward. 3 hours later, they launched. The fleet moved, an ominous crescent of hybrid freighters, gunships, covert T-ramblers. They slipped through Corridor Theta, plan on track to Pharos. Pharos Station blazed with civilian craft, extraction modules, hub for refugees escaping Empire territory. The Rift Gate device hovered nearby, a ringed mass of corrosive blue energy, humming. His gut clenched, but he held tight. He sent Mara and her team in first, cloaked stealth hover shuttles wide enough for 4. Their task: plant conduit disruptors on the Rift Gate's stabilizer shafts. Do it quickly, silently, invisible to shields. His eyes followed the blinded feed as the first shuttle docked. Mara stepped out. She moved like a ghost, snapping cables, carving ports, tapping overrides. Then alarms ripped. Imperial recon drones emerged. Automated guns tracked the station. He cursed loudly. "Drones out and down," he ordered. Gunships launched, moving in hot. Beams flared, drones swung deep. Suddenly, the feed went red as Mara's shuttle rocked. "Sir, Mara hit!" Juno yelled. He froze. Time stopped. Mara's voice crackled. "Stabilizers jammed. Need evacuation." The feed cut. Silence gripped him. Every captain waiting. "Options?" someone asked. He looked up. "Drone strike on the station. Rapid evac. If we kill the gate operator servers, gate collapses." The swing throttled. "But station casualties? High?" They all looked down. Some nodded. He took a breath. "Do it." They unleashed drone swarms, hundreds of kamikaze bots swarming toward the station's ring. Plasma drones erupted on contact, and the Rift Gate's ring fractured, lights dimmed, arcs flickered. The station convulsed. Inside, alarms screamed. Mara's team sprinted back. 3 made it. 1 stayed behind. Station debris cut off. Mara staggered into the shuttle alone, lifted limp figure. 3rd operator, gravely hurt, strapped him in. She slammed the hatch closed. He watched her pale face. She dialed the exit feed. "Gate, disabled. Casualties too many. Evac triggered." Her eyes flicked. He gave the code. The shuttle exploded out. Cyclones hurled from the station, defenders hunting them. His fleet returned fire for cover. The shuttle slipped to safety. Inside, Mara sat bloodied, shaking. The operator she rescued was alive, but critical. He ran to them aboard command ship. She collapsed when he reached. He supported her. "You saved him?" he asked. She nodded. Tears streamed. He begged. "I honored it." He didn't comfort. He just steadied her against the hull. He looked at the op, barely breathing. "Medic?" Juno was already there, calm, but her eyes were wet. Inside medbed, heart monitor beeped slower then steadied. He let out breath. They'd hit the Rift Gate. The Empire's warships would take days to reroute. Supplies rerouted. Fleets slowed. But the cost was sharp. 316 civilian casualties. Dozens of refugee vessels destroyed. Pharos Station life path shattered. Titan's Tears emissary demanded they cease such attacks or withdraw. The coalition fractured. In the war room, the holomap flickered. Allied border zones shrank. Systems once in gold flag markers switching to gray. Tensions boiled. One captain slammed his fist. "What's done is done. You pulled the trigger on a civilian hub." He stood up. "No lying, no victimization. The gate needed disabled. Less casualties overall than losing entire systems. The captain spat. You lost innocent lives. You'll lose, too. Another looked to him. Orders? He rose. We regroup. We focus next on Empire shipyards, but no more civilian targets. He looked at Mara, kneeling outside the room. Ever. Juno exhaled. She'll slip soon. He nodded. That night he found Mara in the ship's shrine room, empty hold fashioned into sobering memorial of fallen crew and civilians. Dust motes danced in reactor hum. A single name blinked. Pharos. He approached. She stared at the world glass, eyes hollow. You saved someone, he said softly. She didn't respond. He took her hand. And we hurt innocents. We make tremendous choices. No glory in miscalculations. She turned. Tears streaked steel. I killed kids. He drew her close. You killed no one. We did, together. In war, every bullet asks, which soul pays? She shook. I can't stop hearing them. He wiped her tears. Then we start earning forgiveness with every life we protect. Later, in silence, he placed the Phoenix disc in her palm. We rebuild from ashes. By dawn, Titan's tears had officially withdrawn support. A fleet already warped toward Ghost Fleet staging zone, unaligned path. Their numbers dropped, recruitment slowed, supplies tightened. The full weight of revolution settled onto cold shoulders. At briefing, he faced the remaining captains. We lost allies, he said, but we still stand, maybe stronger for it. A murmur of assent. We strike next on Majorca shipyards. No civilians, no refugee zones, pure Empire military infrastructure. Heads nodded. I'm calling volunteers for ground infiltration. Mara's team will lead, hostage rescue, intel steal. Silence sank. Then Juno spoke. We go. He looked at Mara, her eyes steady now, resolve sharpened. In the following hours, they prepared. Ramming pods, stealth teams, diversion drones, no civilian gear, only combat. He wandered out to deck viewport, looking for a sign. Instead he found Juno. She joined him, side by side. Pharos hit us hard, she said quietly. He nodded. People will understand. She turned to him. Will you? He exhaled. I hope so. A long moment passed. She put hand on his arm. Through the hard days, you made us choose humanity. He met her gaze. That's why we fight. That night, the fleet war-galaxed into blackout mode. Rebels and mercs loaded pods. Mara's surgical team drilled final intel drops. He watched them in silence. He whispered, for them. For Pharos. For Earth. Then he walked away, to ready the final push. The war room hummed under red light restraints. Around him, captains and officers watched a live feed of the Majorca shipyards, an enormous complex built into an asteroid, rings of welding bays, assembly docks, and thrumming machinery designed to churn out cruisers and destroyers by the hour. He studied the layout. Behind those walls lay vast stockpiles of engines, weapons modules, and data cores. Destroy the yards, and the Empire's replenishment would stall indefinitely. Their target was clear: sabotage core production lines and steal shipyard schematics. Opposition would be brutal. Empire's elite marine detachments, automated turrets, anti-intrusion grid, and possibly local militia that still saw ghost ships in the skies. He let the threat hang. Silence thick. Strike elements ready, Juno announced. Mara stepped forward, steady-faced. Team Shadow stands ready. Ground infiltration in T-minus 30 minutes. We'll crack the main server, deploy quant-EM mines, and exit through docking cores. He looked at her. Pride and tension intertwined. She had carried Pharos's ghosts. Now she carried the hopes for even bigger victories. Support fleet will strike the asteroid's ring ports at 00-100 hours, he continued. It's a simultaneous sunburst. One strike above, one below. They all nodded. "Any concerns?" he asked coldly. A captain stood, voice tight. "Haven't we overextended? With Titan's tiers gone. Numbers thin. If the Empire strikes back en masse..." He cut him off. "We don't wait for them. We strike first." Sheathing his frustration, he tapped the console. "All ships maintain jump nets. On my mark." 30 minutes later, the Shadow team boarded their stealth pods and launched. The planet's rings blazed orange, rolling clouds of slag and molten ore. Their pods slipped among debris, silent, invisible, no signatures. Inside, Mara led the squad. Jax, heavy weapons, Ellen, tech loop specialist, Ronan, medic, Torek and Scylla, demolitions experts, and a captain of pirates, Valak, placeholder for smuggled knowledge of yard layout. They reached a service corridor burrowed into the rock. Automated turrets scanned the path. They crouched behind crates. "Jax, suppress external grid. Ellen, open the server door remotely," she whispered. Jax rattled fire at turret sensors. Optical lenses shattered. Cameras dropped offline. Ellen's datapad glowed. Access codes hacked. The door clicked open. Steam hissed. Inside the server room, conduits snaked overhead. Microcomputer stacks thrummed. Valak connected his rig, mining negatives. "Got schematics. Uploading now," he whispered. Ronan crouched by crates of ordnance, silver mines, compressed with quantium charges. Ellen interrupted. "Interceptor squad inbound." "2 hostiles. Armor-class terrain." Mara nodded. "Valak, keep uploading. Jax, set mines. Everyone else, hold positions." 2 Marines burst in, shields shimmering. Jax raised his arms, fired heavy slug. One dropped. The other spun, dropped weapon and fled. Alarm siren screamed. Valak spat oath soft. "Timed exit in 9 minutes." Mara scanned exit routes. "Deploy mines on corridor, heavy charges. On evac, sync detonation." They worked fast. Torek and Scylla laying the mines. Jax setting overwatch. Ellen monitoring uploads. Suddenly the lights blinked. Station-wide shift. They were locked in, grating thrum of lockdown doors. Mara swore. "Imperial lockdown protocol, all exit hatches closing." Ellen tapped pad. "Override, failing. We need to manually clear shutters from consoles upstairs." Mara barked. 2 go up, Jax and Ronan. 3 stay, Valak, Torek, Scylla, and I'll guard. Jax nodded. "On it." They split. Outside, alarms echoed. Through small panel, Mara watched corridor shutter grind shut. She pulled her pistol, gripped Torek for backup as they raced to flank the door. Down below, Jax and Ronan fought rushing guards, knocked them down with suppressive fire and stun bolts. 7 guards contained, casualties minimal, but alarm broadcast spread. Upstairs, Jax pounded on the metal hatch. "Door won't yield." He kicked. It splintered. They entered high-ceiling shaft, piping overhead. Heat real. Ronan struggling. "I'm hit!" Shoulder. "Pressure's gone. Holy..." Jax fired support laser at incoming guards. Ronan slumped, wounded. Jax dragged him back. "Live, damn it!" They reached the access annex. Manual lever mounts. Jax yanked. Door groaned open. Pressure hissed. Corridor once shuttered opened. Alarm klaxon roared. They relayed to Mara group below. She squeezed trigger at incoming patrol bots. The mines were armed. Valak grabbed upload disk. "We need evac now," Mara signaled to Torek. He pressed detonate. Corridor doorway blew. Steel shards, debris. A fireball raced down corridor, rebutting guards and shutter debris both ways. Exit open. She grabbed the upload drive. "Moving out," she ordered. They escaped into hangar as support fleet blasted open structure walls. Rockets flared, plasma cannons tore docking arms. Smoke and decking rubble filled the chamber. He was watching from the command ship's screen overlay. "Teams redeploy," he keyed comms. "All fleet, engage escorts, suppress secondary turrets, keep pods safe." Gunships strafed docking ports. Cruisers fired energy nets to cut off Empire response waves. Soon enough, Shadow Team boarded extraction pod and rocketed away. He exhaled after they fully cleared the danger zone. "Mara?" she responded from private comm. "Package secured. Ground cleared. En route to safe zone. Initial casualties, 3, including Ronan. But we made it." His relief was immediate. "Bring him here. I'll see to him." Hours later, they regrouped. Upload had succeeded. Millions of shipyard blueprints, AI nav cores, construction logs of new battlecruiser class. Valuable intel, proof of escalating production, genocide-class kinetic weapons shafting. They transmitted it instantly outwards. Multiple coalition partners logged in, docking offers came. But so did conflict. Titan's Tears diplomat initiated ceasefire vote. Debates flared. Some systems argued, we saved them. But they chose bomb-sweet civilian havens. They branded tactical strikes as terror. He listened as system after system debated trust, morality, pragmatism. He thought of Pharos, the guilt, the weight of command, and realized freedom always demanded sacrifice. Broadcasting outward, he said softly, "We stand or fall on truth. We expose corruption. We offer paths forward. But we also hold the line. We won't become the nightmare we fight." It cut through static control channels. It landed heavy. He found Juno and Mara on the launch deck as evac pods prepared for long jumps. Juno turned. "Debate tight. Alliance possibly fractures." He nodded. "They'll follow the data. The truth prevails." Mara's face shone tiredly, her bloodied clothes marked with scorch and smoke. He stepped close. She met his gaze. "We did it," she said. He pulled her into embrace. Captain, soldier, survivor, all held past, future, choice. "I couldn't do this without you." She whispered, "You didn't ask me to." He let go. He looked out as evac pods launched. That night they gathered in the chapel hold. Soft lighting, names of fallen flickered. Pharos victims, Ronan, others. He stood and addressed them, crew, captains, support leaders. "We struck a blow to their capacity to wage war. We exposed truth, but we also lost ourselves in tactics that haunt." He paused, voice rough. "Tonight, we honor our losses. Honor Pharos. Honor Ronan. Honor those we promised not to sacrifice." They bowed heads. He continued. "Tomorrow we will push forward. Empire shipyards next, then core fleets. We'll take no civilian lives without absolute necessity. We'll act with purpose, not vengeance." Juno placed a hand on his shoulder. Mara, eyes closed, nodded. After service, he left the chapel. The empty corridor stretched under light. He walked alone to the Phoenix disc box, slid onto the metal surface. He turned it over in his fingers. He whispered to the silent ship, "We rebuild from ashes. This ember still burns." He looked out viewport to the star-strewn belt. The fleet shadows curled. Unknown, unregistered, but undeniably present. Their path ahead was brutal. Betrayal, war, loss, loomed. But they were not that which they fought. They were Earth reborn. The hangar bay thrummed as the fleet assembled before the void. Ahead lay the Empire's Silesheim shipyard, carved into a small moon orbiting a gas giant, its industrial sprawl bristling with unfinished crew-class warships and armored carriers. This was the culmination. Their last strike to fracture the Empire's war machine and reveal its rot to every world everywhere. He walked the platform alongside his captains, Mara, Juno, Valak, and the remaining shadow operatives. Casualties lined the bay, scars in uniforms, body armor chipped, grief in unspoken glances. Everyone felt the weight of what had come before. Pharos, Majorca, allies lost, lines drawn in cosmic dust. The plan was bold. launch a surprise raid from multiple vectors. Cloaked gunships would seed ion nets to jam the orbital girdle. Drone swarms would paralyze defense nodes. Shadow Team would infiltrate surface hub, open hangar doors, and sabotage the starship cores. Heavy frigates would deliver the final blow. All while the extracted intelligence of the shipyard's inner council, manifestos, genocide protocols, networked AI cores, was streamed live to every free fleet and out-of-Empire system. This mission. Final. Reckoning. They launched in silence. Crescent of gunships slipped through ion belts. Window of slipspace ruptured, cloaked to avoid patrol scans. He guided the fleet anchor ship, broadcasting only to his inner circle. Seconds before impact, he keyed the feed. Today, we bring dark truth into light. We reveal not just what the Empire builds, they build annihilation. We bring them down so no fleet is ever raised on lies again. He ended feed. Fragments of space shattered as gunship volleys lit ablaze. Defense nodes screamed but were cut by ion nets, glazed shields flickering, confused. Drone swarms ascended, chewing wires and sensors. Alarms cut through the shipyard complex like forced awakenings. Shadow Team dawdled no longer. Mara led the exfil pod through cover fire, landing near the Central Operations Spire. They slithered into service tunnels toward the control center. Explosive charges had already severed hangar door relays. It would open within minutes, enough for their squad and freedom fighters aboard to walk in and detonate starship cores. Below, gunships engaged gun platforms. Heavy ships pummeled orbital ring emitters. Frigates spiraled with plasma arcs. In the control hub, Mara hauled cables, jammed node drives, and began live upload to multiple freighter uplinks orbiting out of range. Data flooded. Grim videos of colony scorings, logs of genetic purges, child-programmed combat units. The crowd watching from pirate dens to neutral council terminals erupted. The Empire could no longer bury its guilt. But then, hands grabbed her. 2 armored strike marines, elite class. She hadn't anticipated ground patrols here. They cornered her, stunned pistol at first shot. She fired but was overwhelmed. Guards cuffed her to a terminal console. Alert spread like wildfire. Above, the fleet paused. On monitors, Mara's feed flickered. Live guards dragging her, silhouetted by massive server crystals. She spat curse. She slashed a code module with a hidden knife. Stream cut. He clenched his fist. That flicker meant she was a prisoner within their operation. He took control. Abort hangar strike, Valak protested. She's inside. We can't pull now. He pressed on. Then we open another front. He keyed missile stream to orbit, frag heavies to strike perimeter defenses, and we negotiate on the feed. We extract her, or we pull her from our records. The world's watching. Live or die by their eyes. He set live broadcast. On station feed, hulking War Machine's commander activated podium. Massive emblem, Imperial Hydra. Residents of the Quadrant, he began, voice cold and amplified. Pirates and terrorists have attacked. They have captured our resources, planted false protocols, and threatened planetary order. We are acting now. Surrender! Release your hostage or we execute her. Mara stood rigid behind the commander, gagged, posture defiant. A live feed icon pulsed red before millions of monitors. He watched, jaw set. The fleet held, linear lines aimed. He hit counter-signal. Citizens of the galaxy, his voice cut across the Imperial feed. What you're watching is your truth. The Empire hides behind propaganda while burning your worlds. Below, they threaten Captain Mara, the woman who brought this data to you. Ask yourselves, do you trust them or us? We offer proof. We offer accountability. Their weapon is lies. We bring evidence. He opened feed to show proof. Shipyard data, videos, files. Icons popped on screen. Ransacking colonies, erasure logs, world genocide slides. No fortress could block this. He let it sink. The commander barked orders, but hesitation rippled across his shoulder, fear of broadcasted truth. Back on ship deck, Juno watched for Mara's feed count. Pirate dens, council systems, neutral freighters, all toggling streams. Votes, petitions to intervene, emergency fleet offers poured in, but Imperial lockdown held surface. He turned to Valak. Deploy HVT rescue units siloed under gunships, camouflaged boarding pods ready. Valak flashed a grin. He remained a scoundrel, but one refined under purpose. On it. Moments later, boarding pods launched into blitz formation, docking thrusters stabbing at station hull. He kept feed live. All hell broke loose in tight corridors. Heavy muzzle fire, grenades flashing across panels, Marines scrambling under smoke. Shadow Team rejoined boarding squad. They killed guards silent, fought quick. His stomach knotted as he watched Mara thrown into a holding cell. She spat blood. They dragged her to core door vent. The boarding squad's blasted panels opened hatch. Mara sagged against the wall once freed. She locked eyes with Juno and him on live screen. He reached toward the viewport as if to pull her through. She gave a slow nod. "We'll hold," she whispered. "Finish it." Valak detonated the dock sabot charges. Hangar doors blew open like shutters. Lamps fell. Undefended hull sections exposed. A chain reaction triggered. Detonators preset inside the shipyard. Ionized core melts. Reactors go supercritical, cascades into warship cradles. Firestorms erupted. The boarding squads backed out. Mara stumbled but held herself. 3 minutes later, they stood back on command ship deck, Juno catching her. Behind them, the hangar's reflections flickered through viewport. Fire-consuming hull, starship cradles twisted, assembly arms fallen like dead giants. His voice trembled. "You did it." She closed her eyes, blood and soot across her face. Smile of defiance. They watched broadcast viewers. Council terminals lit blue. Councils voted to intervene. Charity measures flagged. Pirate dens mourned and rallied. Systems began repelling Imperial trade lanes on principle. Diplomatic blockades activated. The Empire found itself besieged on wave after wave of public outrage. The commander on screen looked petrified, his Hydra emblem blurred behind him. He leaned forward, voice cold but resolute. "To those still listening, I'm not in your records, but I'm in your future, our future. We don't just tear down lies, we rebuild from ashes. You have a choice. Join us or remember us." He cut feed. Silence wrapped the war room. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, Juno spoke. "We hold. Wait." He nodded. Beside him, Mara sank into a chair. Bloodied but unbroken, he turned to remaining captains. "We've made our stand. Allies will return. Systems will flock. But we give no quarter. No mercy. We wake a galaxy." A ripple of assent. Later, he found Mara on launch deck, watching the burning yards drifting in orbit. She leaned her head on his shoulder. He asked nothing. She spoke softly. "We did something final." He closed his eyes, pressed her hand. Together they watched Empire scorch in the sky, a beautiful, terrible sunrise. Epilogue, minutes later. He stood by the Phoenix disk, placing it on the pedestal. He whispered, "Earth reborn." A new feed lit aboard the flagship. Dozens of Allied ships entering the vicinity. Titan's Tiers reinstating. Martel Pact, Aram Coalition, independent militias, whole fleets others had rallied. They aligned behind the Ghost Fleet. He exhaled, looked to the stars. "Ready for Phase 2? Juno asked softly. He nodded. A weight lifted, another pressed on shoulders, but somewhere in the burning orbit of that yard, something seed-like flickered. Hope. And thus ends the saga of the Ghost Fleet's crucible, rebirth from extinction, defiance against tyranny, brothers and sisters forged in sacrifice. They remain unregistered, but not unseen. Earth's fire lit a galaxy.